All right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here in beautiful Hebron. Matt Walsh just issued a challenge to pro-Israel people and pro-Israel influencers. He said, you got to take a look inside. You guys are losing it. You're losing the argument. People aren't with you anymore. The left certainly is anti-Israel, and now you're losing much of the right. I want to watch Matt Walsh as he issues that challenge to Israel. Let's see it.
Because listen, the pro-Israel side, as Charlie called it, has lost the majority of the American public. You know, it doesn't have the left at all, which who cares? That's fine. But it also doesn't have a huge chunk of the right, and it wasn't always that way. It doesn't have the younger generation, like at all. It doesn't have support globally. It's just failed to persuade the vast majority of people. That's the fact.
All right, well, there's Matt, and he's saying, listen, guys, you know, I don't know. You guys have really lost the argument. People don't like the way you behave. People don't like Israel anymore, even on the right. I actually like very much what Matt Walsh said. I like the part where he says, you got to look inwardly. You got to ask yourself, like, how could it be that you've lost everybody? How is it that you've lost the left and the right? There's something very true about these words, and I like challenges to look inward. That's not like a hateful challenge. It's like, hey, you guys, look, I'm telling you honestly what I see. I see that you've lost your followers, and you're not cool anymore. So I have three things to say about that. The first one is, yes, I agree with that. Something has gone wrong. And myself, I've been now for a very long time issuing a challenge to the state of Israel saying, listen, a lot of the way that we do our PR is not good. We are not doing good PR. Why are we not doing good PR? Because we proffer up all kinds of confusing narratives and weak narratives. For example, that we have the most moral army in the world. Moral army, moral army. Who cares about your moral army? You either have a badass army or you have a weak army. And weak armies are not sexy. Weak armies are not attractive. And this whole business about us being very moral, more moral than the other people, it doesn't win you anything. Because ostensibly that talks to the left, but the left doesn't like you. Okay? The left can respect you if you're strong, but they don't like you anyway, Israel, because of various other pro-jihad and other issues of progressivism. They're not going to like Israel. So who's this very moral army narrative going to? To all the people who say that we're genociders? You're not going to win them over anyway. The only way you're going to win is when you have a strong army that's clear in what it wants to do, defeat the enemies, clear out the region from jihad, be a liberation nation, be a big country, a badass country, one that people respect, maybe even fear. Okay? We don't want a nice guy army, a white glove army. We're very tough, but we are actually soft inside. Nobody cares about that. Nobody respects that. That's just one of the bad narratives, and there's so many other ones. For example, we love the UN. You see, the UN gave birth to Israel in 1948. No, it didn't. It tried to shrink Israel from the get-go. It's been a bad organization from the beginning. It's been against us. It tried to divide our land from the onset. And we were not born in 1948. We were not born of the Holocaust. We didn't come here because of Hitler. We were born here because 3,500 years ago, God gave a promise to Abraham. And then we had a first temple 3,000 years ago and a second temple. We had King David. In the beginning, we had the Maccabees, and we were big, badass, amazing, temple-hearted Jerusalem, Jewish state in the land of Israel. And when we never say that Palestine is our enemy, when we don't make that clear, when we don't tell the world, hey, you know what, this thing called Palestine, it's trying to erase our identity. When we cut our own land in half and create a Palestinian authority, then don't be surprised that other people like, I think that Palestine and Palestinians deserve this land. Even the Israelis are willing to cut up their heartland and give it to their enemies. So we have created Palestine with our own hands. Okay, we created Palestine with our own hands, and none of those are victory narratives. Not moral army, not the UN, not give half our land away to our enemies. Those are all weak narratives. And they've caused people even on the right to be like, Israel's not that strong country. Israel's not the biblical country. Oh, did I mention that we never talk about the Bible as really what is the heart and soul of this country? We never share that with people. We barely ever talk Bible seriously. So Bible people are like, well, I guess Israel's not the Bible country. And strong conservative people are like, Israel's not a strong country. And folks that hate the UN and think it's a global menace are like, Israel thinks it's a creation of the UN. These are all bad narratives and ones that have failed. So I kind of agree with Matt Walsh. You got to look inside and be like, am I sharing the best narratives that I could share? Or am I selling weak, spineless narratives that suck up to the UN or some kind of progressive, like, look, we have a nice army. Look, the UN gave birth to us. Look, we were trying to give our land away, but the bad guys won't take it. All of these narratives are weak narratives that don't bring us any respect, neither on the left or on the right. So we have been caught now nowhere. We're a blue state and a red state and something in the middle. We're neither of those things. We're all those things. And it's diluted narrative, a diluted brand. And it has failed us. It has failed us. This war was not fought the way it should have been fought. It should have been fought ruthlessly to make sure that there's not one Hamas person left in this world. Okay, then people would have been like, yeah, that Israel's a badass, serious country. They're biblical, they're badass, and they're beautiful. Okay, but instead we fought a moral war and we allowed a lot of our people to die and we didn't capture and retake Gaza for our people. People don't get it. The people around the world don't see that as a strong narrative. And Matt Walsh is right. We have failed. So that's part one. Part one is, yes, we've had some very bad narratives.
That's the reality. And at some point, if you're on the pro-Israel side, you really need to be honest with yourself and engage in some actual honest self-reflection and self-analysis. You really do. Because you're losing the argument. I mean, you're just losing it.
Matt Walsh, you got to be fair here a little bit. Like, I agree with you. We got some weak narratives that kind of suck. But there's another part, which is Qatar, China, Russia, Iran. These are massive narrative weavers. They've bought so many people in America and around the world. They've bought so many department heads at universities, and they have so much control of all this media from Al Jazeera to the New York Times. They all succumb to a paid-for narrative by the haters of Israel. So, Matt, I agree with you on the one hand. On the other hand, cut us a little slack. We're under attack narratively, not just physically. The Jewish people are under physical attack for sure, but there's also a global delegitimization campaign. They're trying to delegitimize us, and they're working hard. So that's point number two.
You are. And I've never seen any side of any argument lose this much support this quickly. I can't think of any other example of something like this. And if you're on that side, you need to have the courage and humility to ask yourself what you're doing wrong.
I want to say to Matt Walsh is that it's not the first time. You say, I've never seen anybody lose an issue so quickly. I've never seen an issue get so turned around where you have so many supporters one day, the next day everybody hates you. We Jewish people are used to that. We're used to that. Just give you one example. Think a little bit about the UK. Think about Britain, okay, the United Kingdom. Think about them. In 1917, they came out with the Balfour Declaration. This was towards the end of World War I. They helped create a Jewish state. They called it Restoration. Okay? They had great leadership that loved the Bible, and so that they created this whole movement called Restorationism, and they helped bring together a Jewish state from the land that they kicked the Turks out of. The land of Israel, the ancient so-called Palestine, is the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. So the British were like, we can help them return. And they kept going. They kept going in 1920, the San Remo Accords, and then 1922, the mandate for a Jewish Palestine at the League of Nations, before the United Nations. So they really helped out a lot. But then they started turning on Israel. So they were like all pro-Israel. They helped create a Jewish state. But then they figured out that the Arabs have oil and the Arabs have money, and they got annoyed with the Jews and the Jewish donors and whatever, all the stuff that you're saying now, Matt Walsh. And guess what happened? They flipped on the Jewish people. They turned around on us. They started hating on us, right? They started hating on us. They started limiting immigration to the land of Israel. And then later in the Holocaust, they would block people from coming home to the land of Israel, escaping the fires of Europe and the gas chambers of Europe. So they went against us, and they turned it all around. They were once super pro-Israel, and then they became really anti-Israel. And we had to fight them to the point that we had to like get them out of our country. Okay, we attacked their military, and we like made it too costly, and they had to get out. But what happened to England then, Matt Walsh? What happened to the UK? Well, what happened is that it went from a giant empire to a tiny little island, I dare say a kind of annoying island sometimes, because, you know, today there's still anti-Israel. There's a lot of good people in the UK, a lot of blessed people. There's also a lot of problematic, progressive, anti-Israel, pro-jihad forces there. But that huge empire became this big. Why? Because they turned on the Jewish people. They turned on the Jewish people. So guess what? Turning on the Jewish people took away the blessing from them. What's my point, Matt Walsh? My point is, you're right, Jews need to do what we call in Hebrew, cheshbon nefesh. You know, we got to look inward, as you say. We got to think about why we've lost everybody. And I agree with you. We have put out some really bad, stinky, weak narratives that suck, and I hate them so much. And I've been fighting, you know, here in our beloved Israel to make stronger narratives, for sure. So that's one. Two is that the Qataris, the Iraqis, the Chinese, and the Russians, and others have been doing their best to besmirch us, to delegitimize us, so give us a little bit of slack. But number three, this is an important point for you, Matt Walsh. Number three is that you got to know that when America turns against Israel, it means that the blessing, the channel of blessing to the United States, the spigot is turning off. Being anti-Israel, not seeing the light of Israel, not seeing the beautiful, momentous time of the rebirth of Jerusalem in this land, the rebirth of a biblical Jerusalem, of a temple Jerusalem, a Jerusalem that calls to all believers of Bible and God. If you don't see the miracle of Israel, the rebirth of Israel, the rebirth of, when I was born, there were 3 million Jews, now there are 7 million Jews in this land. If you don't see the flourishing, if you don't see the gift of the rebirth of the Hebrew language, of the return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel as prophesied 3,500 years ago, a promise made to Abraham, if you don't see that, that means the channel has been turned off to you. That means America is about to shrink. That means America is going to return to smaller borders. It's not going to be the great and powerful country because it no longer wants to love the Jews. And therefore, okay, you can still be a country. Nobody says America is going to be destroyed, but it's going to be a much smaller phenomenon. And guess what? Another empire bites the dust. Remember, my dear Matt Walsh, remember, the Jewish people, we traverse all empires. We were there. The Babylonian, the Persian, the Greek, the Roman. Remember, we were there. The Turkish, the Austro-Hungarian, the British Empire. And now it seems like the American empire is willing to shrink itself. If it doesn't see what you said, Matt Walsh, you said, like, I've never seen anybody turn around so quickly on an issue. That means that the blessing is leaving you. So I think that you should do what we call in Hebrew, a cheshbon nefesh, my dear Matt Walsh. You should consider for yourself what it means to renege on Israel, to reject Israel, to turn on Israel, and not to imbibe in the blessing of Jerusalem and the rebirth of the Jewish people. It just means that you don't have the merit to be part of it anymore. So consider that. I'll do my self-calculation. I'll look inward a little bit, see if we can fix the way that we present ourselves, and fix other things that the Jewish people don't do so right. I agree with you, but you should look inwardly as well. All right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here, talking to Matt Walsh. I hope he hears me from the beautiful city of Hebron, and I want to send you blessings from the land of blessings and remind you that you could like, subscribe, comment, become a member, and check out our awesome YouTube web store with a lot of fun shirts and cool stuff that you can wear your godliness and Zionism proud, loud and proud. Don't forget to also check out buymeacoffee.com/Yishai or Fight for Israel, fightforisrael.org, the number 4, fightforisrael.org, for our projects to beautify and strengthen the land of Israel in His image, because His promises are coming true. All right, folks, God bless you wherever you are, from the good land, from the land of Israel. Lots of blessings and shalom.